In a previous video, I talked about the value of taking a holistic approach to correcting neck posture for low back pain and sciatica. And kind of what this particular research article concluded was long-term approach for helping with sciatica could include correcting neck posture. Now, I want to be very clear that this series, these groups of exercises, it's for people who specifically have more of a rounded mid-back, maybe rounded shoulders, and especially their neck kind of comes forward like this here. That's just kind of there. You look in pictures and you see yourself, you're like, why is my neck so far forward? That's who this is for. There is a whole other group of people that are maybe already more kind of like a very tall, lean, upright posture, and they have what's called military neck or flat back syndrome. They end up with sway backs where their pelvis comes forward. They need something different. And so as you start to do these exercises, especially this very first one, if you feel like this is really easy for you, you're probably in that category where you need something else. If this first exercise is challenging for you, then this is probably what you need. So let's start with the first exercise, and it's called a wall angel. You would start, kind of get some good wall space. You would want your feet to be about 6 to 9 inches away from the wall, somewhere in there. And then you start by trying to get your low back flat against the wall. So notice how I've got that space there. What you would want to do is bring your pubic bone up and flatten. This is important. Knees slightly bent. You're not locked in your knees. You're not doing a wall squat either. You're just somewhere in between, low back flat. Now, some other people have a tendency where their rib kind of flares out like this here. I'm going to move my hands out of the way. So they're kind of like hyperinflated in those ribs. All you've got to do to help with that is breathe in and out, all the way out. And when I breathe out, you'll notice the rib cage goes in. But get that low back flat. Once your low back's flat, notice, do you have a tendency for your head to come off like this here? If so, bring your head back against the wall. And notice, do you have a tendency for your chin to be out this way? Or can you tuck it? Because that's where you want to be for the value of this exercise to correct that neck posture. You want to be more here. So not here, not here, here. From there, notice your shoulders. Are they here? Are they here? Let's try to open up. The palms are going to face forward, and then we're going to be here, keeping that low back flat, keeping the head against the wall and tucked. If this here is a chore for you, this might be as far as you need to go. Work on this for a week or two and then come back to this. If you feel like that's a little bit of a chore, but it's manageable, I want to proceed and see if I can do the next part. Here's what you would do. All of those same things, low back super flat. Can you touch against the wall? Can you get your head against the wall and the chin tucked? Now, can you bring elbows against the wall? Be aware of the shoulders. You want those shoulders to be down. And then can you squeeze back, 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 and get the knuckles against the wall. Again, you don't want to be here. You want to be here. And then breathe. So how long do you hold that? I kind of got out of the habit of telling people to hold it for a certain length of time because I've noticed the people who need that the most tend to hold their breath. So instead of thinking, let me hold that for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever it is, think about holding it for a certain number of breaths. I am thinking probably around 3 good breaths in, breaths out. So deep, slow in, deep, slow out. If you do about 3 breaths, that's probably going to be about 30 seconds or so. And then another key component of this exercise here is frequency is more important than duration. So instead of thinking about, oh, I'm going to do this exercise, hold it for 2 minutes, and then I'll do it once a week, you're not really going to get the value out of it like that. Think more in terms of, I hold it for around that 30 seconds, that 3 breaths, 2 breaths, 4 breaths. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it every hour to 2 hours. So do it several times per day. So kind of the next exercise here is just going to be a posture awareness, posture correction with seated, because a lot of people are sitting all the time. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes that I see with this here. Everybody's so concerned with pulling their shoulders back. They pull those shoulders back and then look what happens to my neck. My neck's sticking out here. So they're like doing too much of this, but they're not focused in on the neck enough. So what we want to do is kind of be relaxed. So let's say most people aren't quite this slouched. I'm over exaggerating a slouched posture here. Let's say people are here. I don't want you to think so much of pulling shoulders back. I want you to think more of just getting tall through your mid-back. Think of your chest kind of coming up, your sternum right here, just coming up a little bit. It doesn't have to be all the way, meaning you're not jamming yourself as far back as you can. Think of somewhere in between. So think slouched. Here's as far as I could go. What's something kind of in between where you can be relaxed in here? Then think about your neck. Now this neck portion, you are going to overcorrect it just a little bit. So you're going to go ahead and think chin tucked. Think tall through your spine. Chin tucked. You can hold, same idea. Can you just breathe? Can you kind of relax everything else and breathe? If you want to turn it into more of a strengthening exercise, strengthen your muscles, your neck muscles around that posture. So we're going to get in this little bit of an overcorrected, they call this movement retraction of your neck. Get into that. And then you can do some resistance. Kind of press your hands into your head as if you're trying to press your chin back. And then what you're going to do is your neck's going to resist that movement. And again, I'm almost putting a little bit of an upward movement as if I'm trying to go this way because you're working with these deep neck flexors, they're called. So the muscles that would kind of keep you tucked, keeping that chin tucked. So I'm kind of pressing my head back, but also a little bit of an up movement as I fight through that. Some other things that you can do after that, just strengthen all of your neck muscles around that. Press your hand into your head this way. Well, I should say, kind of press your hand into your head, but resist it. Press this way here. Resist. It doesn't have to be hard, not as hard as, where you're getting about 30% resistance. It doesn't have to be crazy. Breathe 10, 15 seconds at a time or a breath or two in and out. And do all of that around this neck posture there. Now, here's a key thing to understand too. I'm kind of showing you this overcorrected retraction. That's not where you should live throughout your life. You really want to be more loose and fluid. So don't think of this in terms of, oh, I'm correcting around this posture and now let me just live my life in this very stiff and rigid state. You want to be relaxed and fluid. So do the neck posture exercises, do the corrective exercises, but when you're not doing the exercises, don't overthink it too much. Be a little bit more loose and fluid and relaxed. So another neck exercise that you could do is laying on the floor on your stomach. Maybe start with your head on a floor, arms out kind of like this here. And then what you're going to do is just slowly lift that neck up. Not so much like you're looking this way here, but a little bit more coming straight up like that. See if you can engage your stomach muscles a little bit, because a lot of people are going to have a tendency to kind of they're going to come up and use a lot of their low back muscles. You're trying not to use as much of your low back muscles. You're thinking kind of long through your mid back, like you're kind of reaching this way here. Core a little bit engaged, and then be aware of your hips and your pelvis. A lot of people are going to have a tendency to clench their butt. Don't clench your butt. Be kind of relaxed through there, and just come up and then breathe. Do that there. You can add some neck rotation from there. You could even add a little bit of get some of those shoulder muscles engaged by just coming up through there and get tall. For those there, you would probably hold for kind of the same thing that I did with some of those other exercises I said. Maybe think more in terms of breathing, 2, 3, 4 breaths in and out. That might be anywhere between 15 and 30 seconds, and then maybe do about 5 sets of that. And then the same idea, frequency is going to be better than, oh, let me just work on this and then I'll do that once a week. Can you do something like that daily?